Hey there, MJ traders and investors. It's Rod with POW Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Also home to the best MJ community. In this video, we're going to be discussing a very bold prediction from the man, the myth, the legend, Earl Blumenauer, and he is set to retire. We're going to discuss all of this and more. I think you're going to like it. Before we get to it, though, make sure to smash the like. It helps support me in the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the little bell, all that good stuff, and you'll be notified on any future live streams or when I post a new video. Also, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment and informational purposes only. You should never ever buy or sell anything based on anything that I say or anything that I write. Also, I do love each and every one of you who supported me along the way, and if you want to support us even further, you can go follow us over on X, which is formerly Twitter. The handle for that is @GroupPow. And you can also follow POW Group on Rumble and Odyssey platforms in case we ever get silenced here on YouTube. So here is the article from MJ Biz Daily. Retiring Blumenauer reflects on his MJ advocacy and makes bold prediction. Like I said, I think you're going to like this. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this in the comment section below after we go through it. But first and foremost, I want to pay my respects to this man. He's done wonders for the industry, and I just want to commend him for all of his work. And we really do appreciate and wish you nothing but the best in your future endeavors, and hope you have a fantastic retirement. So Earl Blumenauer was a 25-year-old child legislator in the Oregon House of Representatives in 1973, as he recalled it, when he realized that there was something wrong about MJ. At that point, I don't think I'd ever seen anybody even smoke MJ, said the Democratic U.S. representative, now 75, and a year from his recently announced retirement. After 50 years in public life, the past 27 representing the 3rd District of Oregon, including Deep Blue Portland in Congress. The co-chair and co-founder of the Congressional MJ Caucus, who predicts the 2020s will be the decade when Congress legalizes MJ federally, swears he's never even used MJ. He recognized early on that how society treated MJ users was way off. Back then, he called it in a recent phone interview with MJ Biz Daily, Oregon was still jailing late-stage alcoholics, a punitive and cruel approach that didn't solve anything. Incarcerating MJ users, it stood to reason, was also an unjustified waste of resources, according to Blumenauer. But the more he learned about MJ during a 6-month research period, the more he became convinced MJ should not be criminalized at all. This was something that was, for the most part, relatively harmless when he compared to alcohol and tobacco, which we know are poison. And in the eyes of many, it was a well-established medicine, right? What have I been saying on this channel for forever now? It's medicine of the future, right? Not only is it a great recreational substitute for alcohol, it actually has medicinal benefits, and it's really improving the lives of people, right? People who are terminally ill, who have terminal cancer, it's improving their lives, and it's helping people with epilepsy and seizures, people with, sleep issues, helps with anxiety, PTSD. There's so many different applications for it, and we're finding out more and more each and every day, right? And it's going, the more that we see this accepted across the globe, right? If we get rescheduling in the US, it's just going to make it that easier to do research and clinical trials. It was stunning to me to learn that MJ had virtually no effect on people compared to what happens when they smoke tobacco, he said. And then something else, there are a lot of studies were out around C19 as well, that it helped improve battling that as well. So again, this isn't just a recreational, having fun with your friends and family, that kind of thing. While that is very important as well and a great substitute to alcohol, it really is the medicine of the future. And this is by far, I think I was put on this planet to kind of spread the MJ gospel, and I think this is by far the best plant, the best industry, hands down, out there on the globe. The further I got into it, the more powerfully I felt that changing this policy was the right thing to do. His national profile has never been larger over his career than it has been over the past decade, and this coincides with the wave of states legalizing MJ that began in Colorado and Washington in 2012 and spread to Oregon in 2014, the 3rd U.S. state to approve recreational sales. In that time, Blumenauer firmly staked out a lane as a leading voice calling the federal banking and taxation reform for the MJ industry. He lent support, and later his name, to the landmark budget amendment handcuffing the U.S. Department of Justice from taking action against state legal medical MJ businesses. So their position softened. Section said, I found the more I was able to talk to people, their position softened, Blumenauer said. Once you give them the facts and, right, once you hit people with the science and the facts, it's a no-brainer. Now, 70% of Americans share this view on MJ legalization, and more than 90% support medical MJ. Now, a half century A half century after the Controlled Substances Act was signed into law by then President Richard Nixon, the job of undoing that policy remains undone. But as I mentioned earlier, rescheduling is very much on the cusp. I just posted a video with Cureleaf. If you haven't seen that, check it out. He talks about how we're entering a growth phase over the next few years, and we have tons of growth catalysts. I could not agree more. And he believes that rescheduling will more than likely happen at some point in Q1, Q2 of 2024, likely by April, maybe even on 420. So check out that video. That's what I've been echoing as well for several months now. He also recalled the culture shock when arriving in Washington, D.C. in 1996. The high-level officials he met with were completely consumed by Just Say No and Nancy Reagan. Among these, many would include then Senator Joe Biden of Delaware, the sponsor of the 1994 crime bill, now seen as responsible for filing U.S. prisons with nonviolent drug offenders. That would be the same Joe Biden whose October 2022 executive order to revisit MJ's status under federal law led to a rescheduling recommendation this past August from the Health and Human Services. So HHS, as we know, recommended Schedule 3. Now we're just waiting for the DEA to sign off and come back with an approval. If they approve, then it goes to the DOJ, and then it goes to some other regulatory red hoops and legislative comment period, essentially. So basically, from what I gathered listening to Boris Jordan in that video that I just did earlier today on Cureleaf, he said that it's 60 days and then another 60 days. So about 4 months after, and it should be enacted. So it's looking really, really good. The MJ Biden tie, I really like this part here. So Blumenauer is convinced MJ played a role in Biden's election as president in 2020. And for sure it did. I was covering this sector religiously during that time. And when Dems took control of the Senate, and I was making videos saying that we were going to absolutely skyrocket. And sure enough, that's what actually happened. But as we know, it's just been false promises. And that's what they do, right? These market makers, and the way that the laws and regulations work is they do it in a crawl, walk, run approach, right? They don't just approve everything in one go, because why would they do that when the market makers and the Wall Street crooks can create this ebb and flow, and they can create these peaks and valleys, and then they can just suck retail in at the top, use them as exit liquidity, make them panic sell the bottom, and then do it all over again, rinse, repeat, right? So why just make everything go up in one straight line when we can create peaks and valleys and get as much out of the investing public as possible, right? It's usually always results in retail investors getting the shaft, right? So in my opinion, 100% played a role in that, and he goes more into this as well. That year, young voters flocked to the polls in Arizona to pass adult use legalization measure, and Biden won the state, but only by 21,000 votes. Blumenauer is also convinced MJ is what gave Democrats control of the Senate, with now Senate John Fetterman advocacy for MJ as a lieutenant governor for the difference maker. It was the MJ voters that made the difference, he said, and I could not agree more. Also, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration is expected to approve moving MJ from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, which would provide immediate tax relief to legal MJ businesses in the U.S. Biden's 2024 re-election campaign polls indicate the president faces a tough challenge from Donald Trump, just might turn to MJ, according to Blumenauer. If I wanted Joe Biden to win, and if I wanted to energize young voters and speak to the cries for racial justice, what better way to do it than finish the job of legalization and ending the failed war on drugs, Blumenauer asked. And if you recall, I'm from Canada. Here in Canada, that's pretty much what got the Liberals in office as well. And the amount of young voters that came out, myself included, I had never really voted in the past. And whenever MJ legalization was up for changing the laws with regards to that and making it federally legal for adult use sales in Canada, I was not wasting any time going down to the polls, right? I was casting my vote, and I was talking to everybody in my network, telling them to do so, right? So this is going to be a massive part of political campaigns, and very, very smart in my opinion, because as we know, young voters typically are kind of they're not really too concerned about politics from what I've gathered. I'm not a huge politic guy as well, but when it comes to changing and the MJ industry, when it comes to medicine of the future, 100% I'm going to go down and support this industry. And that's what's so amazing about this industry, is that we just have so many passionate people about this industry. It really is something to behold. As he prepares to leave office next year, Blumenauer said his MJ advocacy has been one of the most rewarding things I've done in 54 years. Amen to that. And I don't say this lightly, but I think it helped transform society. Absolutely. And we commend you for your leadership. And like I said, I've said many times that I believe that I was put on this earth to spread the MJ gospel, and I'm going to continue to support this industry until the day that I die. I'll be on here making videos and supporting this industry, like I said, for the rest of my life. It's literally my passion, hands down, from the bottom of my heart. I love each and every one of you who supported me along the way as well, and I just can't wait to see what the next 5, 10 plus years bring for all of us and our families, and the generational wealth that's going to come with it, but also the amount of lives we can change for the better, right? And help society and help people, live better lives through this newly found medicine of the future. And we're not done yet. We're going to get it across the finish line. Blumenauer then made a prediction that 50 years ago might have been seen as an absurd, and in the era of congressional stalemates feels bold. The 2020s are when federal legalization finally happens. I think this is the decade, he said. This is the decade of decision. So, well done, Mr. Earl Blumenauer. We really do appreciate your service. And like I said, I wish you nothing but the best in the future. Have an absolute wonderful retirement, and thank you so much for your contributions to this amazing industry, this medicine of the future. I couldn't be more grateful and happy to be alive, and what an amazing time to be alive and going through this. So I'm just super grateful to be going on this journey with each and every one of you. Thanks so much again for joining us on the Pursuit of Wealth. It's Rod with Pow Group, and I'm going to continue to support this amazing industry, and we're going to have tons of other leaders that are going to take his place and step into the line of duty. And the more younger demographic and the younger population starts to enter into office, it's just only going to be that much better, right? So have a fantastic rest of your weekend, and we shall see you again on the next video.